Hello, my name is Leslie Ford, and this is my practice presentation for BDAN310. This is my third time recording this presentation because the first two times I had something go wonky with the audio, and I thought I had fixed it the first time, so I recorded the whole thing the second time, and it didn't work. If it doesn't work this time, you will probably just get, either the really bad audio or a picture of my cat as an apology. So, let's get started. We are starting out in our script window up here. You get a new one by just going up and clicking that, but we've already got a clean one. So we're going to type item 1 with a left-facing arrow and 5.49. Item 2, left arrow, 7.99. Item 3, left arrow, 10. Go down a little bit, make sure I'm typing the right numbers. Looks good. So we're going to type subtotal, again a left arrow. This time we're going to type item 1 plus item 2 plus item 3. Tax is going to be subtotal times Kentucky state tax of 0.06, and our total is going to be our subtotal plus the value from tax. So all we've done so far is typed up in the script window. We're creating essentially the variables that we're going to use because we haven't imported a dataset in our file window. And so if RStudio had no idea what we were working with, how would it be able to run any of the functions that we're going to have it run? It wouldn't. So what we're doing here is we're saying, I'm going to create a variable called item1, and this value of 5.49 is going to be assigned to it. And we're doing the same thing with 2 and 3. And we're also creating values down here, but there's text over here, so we got to explain that. For subtotal, we are saying that we want the value of that variable to be the sum of items 1, 2, and 3 with the values that they've been assigned up here. Same for tax, we're taking the value from subtotal, which relies on these three variables, and we're multiplying it by 0.06, which is a hard-coded number, but that is what it is. For total, you're adding subtotal and tax, and then we're going to go and we're going to use the cat function, which is short for concatenate, which is where we are telling RStudio that we want to return a character string. And we're going to specify what we want that string to have in it. So we're going to add in our quotation marks, and we're going to follow that up with should have had some elevator music ready. The amount that is due. Is that right? You see how this is going. Amount due is. We're going to end those quotation marks because that's where we really need the text to end. And we're going to follow it up with round total 2. What we're doing there is we're saying after the text, I want you to take the value from the total variable and I want you to round it to the first 2 decimal places that get displayed. Of course, none of that's going to happen yet because we're typing up in the script window and nothing really happens up in the script window. It's kind of just your workspace. And my cat's biting my computer. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take these variables that we've typed up and run them through our console window. And as we do that, in the environment window, you're going to see those variables that we've created and the value assigned to them get thrown up there. We'll do the same for these. We should see subtotal, which if you felt like going and adding up on your calculator, you would hopefully see that that is in fact just the total of the first 3 items that we've added in. For tax and total, you'll see we have 4 decimal places, which is where the round function is going to come into play whenever we run this concatenate variable. And as you see, whenever you type in the cat variable with your quotation marks and your round total too, you're going to get the total amount due is 24.89, which is just a prettier version of 24.88888, however long that goes on. So again, this was really just our workspace. This is where we ran the code through and told RStudio what we wanted it to do. Up in our environment window, we get to see all of the variables that we've created and the values assigned to them. And nothing changed in our file window because we weren't really using anything pertaining to a file. So that is the end of part 1. So to start off part 2, we need to probably just go ahead and create a whole new window for that. We don't need that anymore. We can clean up our environment window, we can clean up our console, and we're going to upload the file golf balls, which should be in here somewhere. Right there. Now, I've already imported this a couple times, so we didn't have to wait for everything to load through in the console window, which means we're able to go in now and rename this data frame to golf_balls. And that'll just be how we reference that data frame every time that we type something in. And we could have ran that code that you see in the console terminal, but it is a whole lot easier to do it through the file, etc. window. So now up in your script window, you will see we have the 3 variables displayed. And if you wanted to scroll through, you would see that we had about 30 observations, which is reflected in our environment window. This is our data we're using. This is the data frame that it's from, and 30 observations of 3 variables. So we can click that, and again, you'll see the 3 variables. Here you see this is character based, and that it goes 1 through 30 as far as observations. And this will return all of those observations. If you really felt like seeing them, you could probably click something and have them all displayed, but they're all over here. Same with distance, except it's number, so is durability, 30 observations, and there they get laid out for you. This little $sign right here is an operator, and it's going to allow us to extract data by name whenever we go down into our console window. So I will show you what I mean by that. We're going to say that we want to reference the golf balls data frame, and we want to return the durability variable. And here it is in the console terminal. You get all 30 observations, and you can tell because that little 1 in brackets is telling you that this is your first observation. 21 is telling you this is 21st, and then you have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 30. Yep, that's perfect. Now we want a summary of the golf balls data frame as it pertains to the durability variable. Oh, not that yet, just golf balls. Here you're going to get a summary of all 3 variables. And so you see brand, distance, durability. For brand, since it's character-based, it's really just going to tell you that it's got 30 observations. It can't really summarize the different text observations. With distance and durability, you're basically going to get your 5-number summary, but on steroids because it's going to add in the mean for you, which you normally wouldn't get. So you can see that in distance, the minimum, so your lowest observation is 244.6, maximum is 277.5, mean is going to be 260.8, first quartile, median, third quartile, same for durability. Now, if we wanted to, we could narrow our focus a little bit. So we are now going to say that we want to just see the summary for the durability variable. And that looks something like this. Minimum, first quartile, median, mean, third quartile, max. All the things that you see right there, but we're focusing in on just that variable. So now I'm going to try something that I hadn't tried before. Get it typed out. So whenever we use this formatting, we're saying we want to look at the golf balls data frame, but we want to inspect a certain portion of it. And so the first part is saying I want to see this like section of observations. So here we've said that we want to see observations 1 through 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And following the comma, you could put which variables you wanted to see that number of observations for. So you could do 1 to 2, you could just do 1, 1 to 3, whatever. Since we've left it blank, it's just going to assume that we want to see all of the variables. So whenever you type it in, that's what it does. All 3 variables. And we see the first 4 observations for each. I love that it's called a tipple. I don't know why, it just makes me smile. Okay, so let's try doing that, but with a different set of numbers that we want. Here, since we've just typed in a blank followed by a comma, we're saying we want to see all 30 observations, and we're restricting it to just the first 2 variables. So here, you see we get branded distance, the first 2 variables, and that we get 30 observations technically. You only see the first 10, but if you wanted to, you could try to observe the other 20 rows. From there, we're going to modify it again, and we're going to do golf balls. We want all of the observations, but we only want to see the first and the third variable. That C function is just, it's creating a new vector of sorts, and you're specifying which variables, which columns you want it to return. So since we used a comma instead of a colon, it is only going to return 1 and 3 instead of 1, 2, and 3. Whenever you run it, that's what you get. Brand, leaving out distance, we get durability. And if it were to display all of them, 10 and 20, you'd have 30 rows, which would be all 30 of your observations. Moving quickly on, we're going to create a variable like we did in the first part of the presentation. It's going to be called result, and we want it to be the standard deviation of the golf balls data frame as it pertains to the distance variable. So here in our environment window, we have created a variable result with that value 9.063967 goes on forever, right? What we're going to do with that now is we're going to use that concatenate variable again, and we're going to say we want you to return a string that starts with the text standard deviation of distance variable for all 30 rows, and then we want it to return result. So this number right here, since that's the value that we've assigned to the result word. And there we have it, standard deviation of distance variable for all 30 rows, and it gives us the number. Now, if we wanted to, we could modify that variable to have a different value assigned to it. So we're going to do standard deviation of golf balls distance variable, but we want to focus in on the first 15 observations. So whenever we used the brackets before, we would do observations followed by what variables we wanted displayed, okay? But we've already specified once that we only want to see the distance variable from the golf balls data frame, so there's no need for that. And so up in our environment window, you can see result has shifted from that 9.063 to a 9.244. It's that easy. We're going to run our cat variable one more time. We're going to change the text a little bit since we're not getting all 30 rows again. So the standard deviation of distance variable for first 15 rows. And we want it to return result again. And this should display the correct result of standard deviation of distance variable for first 15 rows is 9.244957. I think I've done that right. Yeah. So there you have it. Up in our script window, we've still got the table with the 3 variables and 30 observations. In the console window, we've got all the work that we've run through. Environment still shows our variables and the values assigned to them. And then in our file window, you see the dataset that we imported. That should be everything. I will say I learned a lot having to go through and do this. It's very different, doing the homework versus having to explain how you did the homework. So this has been cool. And I feel like I've mentioned my cat a lot. So I figured you want to see her. This is Miso. Miso didn't help at all, but I feel like she deserves at least half credit. So, thank you for watching. I hope you have a good rest of your day.